Jake DeBrusk and Charlie McAvoy teamed up to score a late goal to earn a 4-3 victory over the Washington Capitals on Thursday. The Bruins are now 9-2 in 2022, 3 points back of the Toronto Maple Leafs for third in the Atlantic. But there's major concern after Brad Marchand appeared to suffer a pretty serious upper body injury in the second period. We're going to talk about all this and more on today's episode of Locked On Boston Bruins.
You're Locked On Bruins, your daily podcast on the Boston Bruins. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What is up, Bruins fans, and happy Friday. It's the Locked On Boston Bruins podcast. It's a daily show where we discuss all things Spoked B, as well as take a look around the NHL. I'm your host, Ian McLaren, and I am excited to talk about another Bruins win, but also very anxious to hear about Brad Marchand's injury status. Before we get into all that, a quick reminder. First of all, a quick thank you for making Locked On Boston Bruins your first listen every day. The podcast is free and available on all podcast platforms, as well as on YouTube. So please do hit that subscribe button on both the audio and video feeds of the podcast. Each new episode will be automatically added to those feeds every morning by myself. And you can download, listen at your leisure. If you're on social media, you can find the podcast at Locked NHL Bruins on both Twitter and Instagram. You can find me, my dad jokes, hockey tweets at Ian C. McLaren. Now, last night's game was very encouraging from a result standpoint. We know the Bruins were embarrassed on Tuesday at the hands of the Carolina Hurricanes on Willie O'Ree night. They bounced back, earned a 4-3 victory over the Washington Capitals to improve their record to 9-2 on the season. And what's more, not on the season, but in 2022. And yeah, just overcoming that very embarrassing loss the other night. The big story in this one, apart from the result, was the upper body injury sustained by Brad Marchand in the second period following a questionable hit by Washington's Garnet Hathaway. He slammed Marchand from behind along the boards, given a 2-minute penalty for interference. Marchand clearly favoring his shoulder, went to the bench, received some attention, tried to play through it, came back briefly for a quick power play shift before heading down the tunnel, and he was unable to return. The Bruins announced that he would not be coming back because of the upper body injury. Bruce Cassidy did not have an update on Marchand's condition following the game, but he was clearly not happy with the hit. He said the Marchand one didn't like it at all. I think he was comparing it to a hit by Tom Wilson on Anton Blidh that led to Blidh leaving the game early as well. Touch on that here in a moment. The official right in front of it didn't call it, and you could see Brad Marchand was visibly frustrated with that referee for not making the call. He was about 5 feet away, and you could see on the replay Marchand with some expletives asking how he could not make that call, where the ref behind the play raised his arm. Cassidy said, "I'm not sure why the guy watching it didn't call it. Hit a guy in the numbers in a vulnerable spot. You've seen that from that player in the past too, so I don't like that one at all. The league may or may not look at it when it comes to Marshy. Sometimes they move on. But in this particular case, it seemed like a vulnerable spot against the boards." Cassidy kind of alluding to the fact that since it is Brad Marchand, perhaps the league will look the other way because of his reputation. May have been why he didn't get the All-Star nod in lieu of Patrice Bergeron. But yeah, very concerning for sure. There was a clip going around on Twitter of Brad Marchand. There was a goal scored by, I believe, David Pastrnak. Marchand tried to celebrate the goal, and you could see that he was visibly injured or visibly uncomfortable trying to raise his hand in celebration. I believe it was, I want to say his right shoulder that was injured. I was just trying to scroll through here to see if I could find it. But alas, I do not see it right in my feed. Anyways, losing Brad Marchand for any length of time would obviously be very detrimental to the Boston Bruins. And it was indeed his right arm he was trying to raise in celebration. Couldn't even get it above his shoulder. So that's not good at all. Obviously, Brad Marchand is incredibly important to the Boston Bruins. He's arguably a Hart Trophy candidate as the league's most valuable player, and we'll get to see a glimpse of that here if he is indeed out of the lineup for any amount of time. He is 10th in the NHL in total points, 43 in terms of points per game. He ranks 9th, 1.34, 32 games played, 20 goals, 23 assists, and as important to the Boston Bruins as anybody. I'd argue maybe Charlie McAvoy second, and we'll get to his game winner here in a moment. But when we're talking about injuries, I did want to mention Anton Blidh as well. He had an upper body injury following a thunderous hit from Tom Wilson in the first period. That one was not penalized, and reputation aside, it was, in my opinion, in the opinion of Bruce Cassidy as well, just a hard hockey hit. He came into the middle of the ice, saw him at the last minute. Cassidy said of Blidh, Wilson hits hard. We've seen that. Some clean, others not clean. Cassidy didn't mind this particular hit. He went for the chest, kept his elbows down, didn't see anything other than a hard hit. Obviously wished Anton caught him coming into his view a half second earlier so he could protect himself, but he was kind of watching his pass. It was a tad late per se, but not particularly dirty from my estimation. And the head coach agreed on that one. So I don't think we'll hear anything more from a disciplinary stance. Now, Marchand, the biggest story of the night, his injury looming over the team as they prepare for tomorrow's game against the Winnipeg Jets. They have an optional practice here on Friday morning, and we'll see if there's any updates. But I'd be surprised if he's back in the lineup for tomorrow's game against the Winnipeg Jets. Before we get to Jake DeBrusk, Charlie McAvoy, and how this game was won, a quick word about Built Bar, the best tasting protein bar on the market. And they make it easier to stick to your 2022 resolutions because they taste so good, you'll want to eat it. Unlike other protein bars, which can be chalky or waxy or taste like a chemical spill. You want to eat healthy, but it gets so boring by like week 3, you're thinking, this is just not worth it. Where is the chocolate? Built Bars are covered in 100% chocolate, and they're pretty good for you too. 130 calories, 4 grams of sugar, 4 net carbs, 17 grams of protein. Compare that to a candy bar, which has about 240 calories, 30 grams of sugar, dozens of net carbs. Even if you're not a huge fan of working out, you can at least eat something that tastes good and is good for you. There's so many delicious flavors to choose from. Built is always coming out with new limited time flavors as well. So check their website, built.com, often to see what's new. And when you go to checkout, use promo code LOCKED15 to get 15% off your order. Use promo code LOCKED15 for 15% off at built.com. That's locked15 for 15% off at built.com. I want to thank you so much again for making Locked On Boston Bruins your first listen every day, free and available on all podcast platforms. It's been a very good week. I do this on my own, sometimes with guests, and I really do appreciate those who support the grind and make it all worth it by downloading, listening, interacting on YouTube and on Twitter. It really does mean a lot to continue to grow this community of Bruins fans. Now, the Bruins put aside that, let's be honest, shitty effort on Tuesday night, lopsided setback to the Carolina Hurricanes, and they overcame the losses of Anton Blidh, Brad Marchand. They were down to two of their left wingers in the third period, 10 forwards total. And lest they allowed the Capitals to get the better of them in their own rink, to be knocked down, to quote tub thumping, they got knocked down, but they got up again. Charlie McAvoy scoring the game-winning goal with 45 seconds to go in regulation with the Bruins on the power play. He crept in from the point, took a Jake DeBrusk feed in the slot, ripped a wrister past Vitek Vanacek to earn the 4-3 win. Incredible patience displayed by Jake DeBrusk on this one. Got the zone entry, handled the puck, waited until McAvoy got in position for a high danger chance, and he made no mistake. McAvoy said he thought it was a resilient effort by the team. He played a game-high 24-35, showed good character. You go down two guys up front. Everybody else is pretty tired by the end of it, but they gave it their best all night and held the rope. Are always great to get the 2 points. And Bruce Cassidy said he thought the team was ready to play, much more prepared than Tuesday. Not surprised by the group being ready to go. They had a good, efficient practice on Wednesday. They talked about what they needed to do. They've played Washington well over the past couple of years, just beat them 7-3 not too long ago. And from start to finish, the Bruins dug in, played hard, a physical game. He thought they were the better team. Took them a while to get where they felt comfortable, and even then, they didn't have it until 40 seconds to go. But everybody played a very good game in this one. Now, David Pastrnak added it was a big character win for the team. He scored just 50 seconds after Washington kicked off the scoring at the 4:07 mark of the first. The Bruins did surrender 1-goal leads before securing the victory with McAvoy's goal in the final seconds. Pastrnak said it was a good character win for the Bruins. Good opportunity to bounce back. That was the main focus. Washington's a good team, but the main focus was to get back to work, get back to winning, and it worked out for the Bruins. Big Bear in this one, I'm going to give to he who has requested a trade, Jake DeBrusk. He got the call to play alongside Bergeron and Craig Smith with Marchand out, and he did not look out of place. He actually put the Bruins ahead 3-2 at 9:41 of the third when he made his way down the left wing boards, sent a shot towards the front of the net that banged in off Evgeny Kuznetsov, just barely crossed the goal line. It was initially credited to Patrice Bergeron, but later it was marked that DeBrusk was the last Bruin to touch the puck, his 6th goal of the season. And then he set up the game winner by Charlie McAvoy, added 4 shots, I believe, a block or 2, and he really stepped up. And Bruce Cassidy acknowledged that. We all know DeBrusk, Cassidy kind of at odds. That's probably the main reason why DeBrusk did ask for a trade back in November. Cassidy said it was an opportunity for Jake to get some extra minutes, and he came through for the Bruins. Made some good plays in the third period, used his foot speed to his advantage. Good for him, making some plays in crunch time. I'm happy for Jake that he came through. Anytime he can help the team win, that's a positive. He also had a breakaway attempt that was thwarted. McAvoy acknowledged that he was flying. He was all over the ice. Seemed like he was really pushing the pace. When he has his legs, he's a very dangerous player. The fastest guy on the ice pretty much any given night, McAvoy said. To see him make that play, to me, throw that one on net, good things happen. We're always cheering for him. And when he pulls the rope, we're a much better team. So nice to see that the guys still have his back despite that lingering trade request. We'll see if that is met. If Marchand's out for any length of time, DeBrusk may need to be used on the top line, and he did not look out of place on this night. Again, always tricky when a guy goes public with a trade request. Don't know if it's been rescinded. He hasn't spoken to the media for some time. This would have been a good night where he could have been called upon to chat, but he didn't. And those questions will still linger until we find out if it's been rescinded, if he's back on good terms with Bruce Cassidy. Credit to Charlie McAvoy as well. He could have easily been the big bear in this one. He set the tone with a huge check on Trevor Van Riemsdyk in the first period, moments after Blidh's injury from that Wilson hit. He, like I said earlier, probably Boston's second most important player right now. Pastrnak said he's a hell of a player, gets himself into games no matter if it's going right or not. And yeah, he is just incredibly talented at both ends of the ice. He's involved with the penalty kill, the power play, and under pressure, he executed a big moment clutch play by Charlie McAvoy, set up by Jake DeBrusk. And McAvoy, he's the future of this team, he and Pastrnak, and just as important in the present right now as well for the Boston Bruins. So good on McAvoy, good on DeBrusk for stepping up. And again, we'll have to see here if Brad Marchand is out for any length of time. DeBrusk may get the call on the first line. And if last night was any indication, he'll be up to the task. And it could serve him and the Bruins well if he is indeed intent on still being traded. This will give him a chance to showcase his skills and also up the potential return for the Boston Bruins and maybe show teams who are scared of his qualifying offer that it's worth spending some assets to acquire him, and that qualifying offer of, I believe, $4.41 million to sign him for next season is well worth it for a player like Jake DeBrusk when he's at the top of his game. With the football playoffs continuing and basketball, hockey in full effect, there's no better place for all your sports wagering in 2022 than BetOnline. They have a new updated desktop and mobile website that you can sign up today and receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit by using promo code LOCKEDON. It's the fastest and easiest way to wager on all your favorite sports. That's BetOnline, where the game starts. Use promo code LOCKEDON to get that 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Now, let's take a look at some news and notes from around the NHL. I actually wrote a piece yesterday for Owner's Box about how to save the Edmonton Oilers season. They were defeated very handily last night, 6-0 by the Florida Panthers. And it's really going to take something to turn around their season, beginning with acquiring a goalie. That has to be their first priority. I know a lot of Bruins fans, myself included, wondered if perhaps Don Sweeney would ask for Linus Ullmark to perhaps waive his no-move clause. Apparently, they've been kicking the tires on Eunice Korpisalo, Braden Holtby. I, for one, would love to see Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl in the Stanley Cup playoffs. So I hope they can turn things around. Marc-Andre Fleury, his name has come up. He's not a fit in Edmonton for salary cap reasons. But definitely the Oilers need to do something. But of course, the Florida Panthers are just a powerhouse at the moment, beating the Oilers 6-0. They now sit first. No, actually, where do they sit league-wide? In terms of point percentage, they sit third in the NHL, a league-high plus 49 goal differential. They're just behind Carolina and Colorado. Tampa Bay and the Rangers, the only teams above a 700 point percentage at the moment. The Rangers, really impressing. Florida right now, 59 points, tied with Tampa Bay for tops in the NHL. I mentioned the Bruins are only 3 points back of the Toronto Maple Leafs right now for third in the Atlantic. They're also, I believe, 5 points back of the Capitals for the first wild card spot with 4 games in hand on them. They're level with the Maple Leafs in games played and 3 points back. So the Leafs, who are struggling a bit lately, within catching distance of the Boston Bruins. The Bruins tomorrow will play the Jets, while the Maple Leafs, who's their next game against? Not quite sure who they play next. If they were to lose, then they play the Islanders next. So Islanders very hot as well. So the Bruins could be as close to the Leafs as 1 point by Monday. When it comes to Jacob Chychrun, Jeff Merrick, and Elliot Friedman, suggested the Bruins are among the possibilities for a landing spot. I've heard a lot of potentially packaging like DeBrusk, Vakanainen, Studnicka, maybe a pick for Chychrun, Lawson Krause, perhaps. That could be a real possibility for the Boston Bruins since Vakanainen has emerged as an option and they're relatively healthy on the left side. It would be perhaps more palatable if Jakub Zboril was in the lineup. You don't want to lose Vakanainen just in case you need that depth option down the road. But of course, if you're adding Chychrun, that would be massive for the Bruins to have Chychrun, McAvoy, Grizzly, Carlo in the top 6, and then, Forbort, Clifton, or I'd still like a little bit of depth there on the right side as well. Anyways, that is it for today's episode of Locked On Boston Bruins. I hope you are all doing well, that you had a great week. Up and down week for the Bruins, obviously, but they ended the week on a high. Hopefully they can take care of business against the Winnipeg Jets on Saturday. We'll, of course, be back with a brand new episode on Monday to talk about that game and bring you the latest on Brad Marchand. Do follow Locked NHL Bruins or at ENC McLaren. Of course, we'll be tweeting about it as well. If it is a major injury, I'll record a bonus little video and pod to break that down as well. This weekend plans, not much. We're going to hit the outdoor rink in a park behind our house. Going to a heated patio tonight. It's going to be like minus 25, but need something to look forward to. And Ozark is back on Netflix, so we'll probably check that out as well. Do take care of yourselves, friends, and we'll talk to you again on Monday here on the Locked On Bruins podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your favorite team every single day.